Every year, Faith CME Church holds its annual Praising in the Park in Veterans Park. This year, it was good, like it always is, but there was one thing that stood out to me most of all, and it was during the message when Reverend Green got up to minister and she began to talk about this and talk about that. But one thing she said stood out, and she talked about the word love. She talked about how the word love is not just words, but it's an action word. To back up her statement, she talked about how Jesus asked Peter, did he love him? He asked him this 3 times. Do you love me? And each time, first time Peter said, yeah, I love you, Lord. You know I love you. Second time, Peter kind of got a little agitated because he asked him that one time, as she pointed out. You know, sometimes somebody asks you something more than one time, you get frustrated. And he said, Lord, yeah, I love you. I told you I love you. And then the third time, he asked him, do you love me? And Peter, agitated, said, yeah. But after he asked him that, he kept telling him to feed my sheep. In other words, if you love me, show me. And when I heard that, I came home. I couldn't shake it. I kept thinking about it all night long. And I thought about how oftentimes we settle just for the words, just to be told that somebody loves us without watching them or requiring of them to do anything. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes it is good to hear the words, but the words sound so much better and mean so much more when there's action attached to those words. And I thought to myself, I said, well, I wonder why Jesus would even ask him like that, you know. So I look back. And, you know, Peter, for those of you who read the Bible, you know that Peter was the one that got the revelation on who Jesus was and thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God, and all of these things. But when it came time for Jesus getting locked up and about to be crucified, that same person that got all the revelations and knew all that stuff about Jesus was the main one that said, I don't know who he is. I never met him before, and even got mad and said, I'd be damned if it was me. Don't believe me? Read your Bible. Well, how many times have you settled just for the words, I love you? How many times have you been in situations, in relationships where all they had to do was tell you that they love you? And you settled for that, but yet the actions were absent. Now, for those of you that read the Bible, if Jesus would require action behind his I love you, how much more should you require somebody to show you that they love you? You know, another way I thought about it when I started thinking about the word I love you and the way that we've seen it just in natural life, for those of you that don't believe nothing, you know, as far as spiritual, you say, well, he's trying to preach. I ain't no preacher. I'm just a believer in truth. And the statement itself, the example itself is true. Take, for example, the life of Martin Luther King. Okay? He loved the cause he believed in so much and knew that he could be killed. Guess what? He ain't here no more. But his love and his actions were so intertwined, so his love was undeniable for his people. Malcolm X, another one. His love and commitment to see change and justice for people was so undeniable that he was even willing to do it at the cost of his life. Who else? Mohandas Gandhi. So committed to the cause, so committed to the cause of his people, so committed to the cause of peace and justice for his people, it cost him his life. My question to you is, can your children say the same thing about you? Can that person you're in a relationship with say the same thing about you that you say to them more than words? How can we show love as a parent? It's one thing to tell a child to tie your shoe. Will you teach them to tie their shoe? It's one thing to tell a child to do your work, but it's another thing to help them do their work. It's another thing to talk about all the ills in the community and post it all on your Facebook wall and even on YouTube. But have you ever stepped out of your comfort zone to be uncomfortable, as I learned today, so that you can help somebody? because that's what it's about. That's love. Even yourself. When you look yourself in the mirror, can you honestly tell yourself that you love yourself and know that the actions that you poured into your life match up and prove that you love yourself? Because guess what? If you're in a bad, abusive relationship and you keep making up excuses for the person, you don't love yourself. If you're not pursuing your passion and getting out the boat, you know what I'm saying, to walk on the water, that impossible situation, guess what? You don't love yourself. If you're mistreating your children but treating the man better than you treating your children, you don't love yourself or your kids. Because when you love yourself, you do better by yourself and you show it to yourself. I give you an assignment to my next video. Look in the mirror at yourself. Tell yourself that you love. See if you can even tell yourself that you love yourself. Now think about it. The only way that you're going to be able to do that is if your actions, the way you treat yourself health-wise, the way you treat yourself mentally, the way you pursuing your dreams and your passion, the way you live in your life, and even spiritually, is going to tell whether or not you love yourself. Oh yeah. And last week when I last spoke to you, I was 3 chapters deep. Now I'm 5 chapters deep in my book. What you doing? All right. Peace.